This is the Pine Men.
Hello, everyone. We're back with another episode of The Pine Men.
Welcome.
Welcome.
And we'll start the way we usually start, which is right before we went live. Me and Matt were talking.
Yeah.
And we were talking about. I guess a good way to talk about it is Ivan Karamazov.
Right. That's what
And his-
led us into it a bit.
Yeah, and his view on life and his own dissatisfaction with the idea of the future, seemingly. And we were relating our own experiences with that, and it is a very interesting thing that a lot of people are so, how would you say this, afraid of the future, or like, yeah, kind of, right? Like it's like, it seems like sometimes it seems like so pointless. It's like the
Yeah.
future is like a hole.
Yeah, it definitely can feel
That
like
you're-
that.
Yeah, that you're going to that you are going to fall into, or you have already fallen into, and there's no escape from it once you fall into it.
Yeah. I mean,
Right?
yeah,
Right? Something like that.
definitely.
And
And
it's go ahead.
I think part of it, specifically with him, or, just with what got us into it was just specifically him talking about how he thinks it's pointless and, pretty much pathetic to live on past, like, your 20s and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And just, I don't know. I think a lot of that, especially, like, fear of the future and, a lot of dissatisfaction comes
Mhm.
from the feeling or, like, the belief that, like, no, this isn't the way it's supposed to be, or like it was supposed to be different than this, or it's
Yeah.
or like, oh, this is or this is the way it's supposed to be, and anything that deviates from that is like, no, that wasn't the right way, that's not the way it's supposed to be, right? And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just like, yeah, I mean, I can understand that if you're stuck in a spot like that, and I have been, and I think everybody has.
Yeah.
But I was given a personal example of how because what made us kind of start talking about this in the first place? I don't know.
Like knowing that like the idea of like sometimes you hit a wall in life, right? And like you're basically presented with the options of taking the Ivan road or pushing forward.
Right. Yeah.
And then most people, hopefully and ideally, push forward. And once you push through that, it can feel like you're reborn, or like you get like a second life almost. Because
Exactly.
you see something that you didn't see before, or like you're like, okay, that chapter of my life is over. Now what?
Exactly. And I was given a personal example about, like, when I was younger, I don't know, like 20, 21, around that time period. It was whatever. I mean, at the time, something that I thought was a really big deal was, like, the end of a relationship. You know what I mean? But there was more to it than that, and I was, Eric knows what I'm talking about, and I was describing it like, I was extremely close with, like, the whole family, and, like, it was like practically my second family. I was pretty much at the time closer to them than I was to my own family and stuff.
Mhm.
And it didn't feel like, oh my god, what, I'm single now? Damn, that sucks. There was a lot more to it, where I was like, oh my god, my whole life is, like, over. Like, I don't, all my friends are tied into this, like, everything. Like, what do I do now? And, it just felt really depressed for a bit, and even beyond that, it just felt like being just, like, waiting it out until the end comes, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
I was kind of jokingly, but I mean, this is exactly, I was, like, laughing about it, but this is honestly how I thought of it. I was just like, after a while of feeling that way, I was just like, you know what? Maybe being like delusional, that's the way I thought of it at the time, is like, maybe being delusional isn't so bad after all. Like, I'm just gonna accept being delusional, because I know I'm not that person who can start a band and write music and get people together and actually perform it and sing into a microphone in front of people and show people the stuff I wrote, and like, yeah, no, there's no like out here. It's like, I did this. I mean, I can't just be like, oops, no, I wasn't serious. You know what I mean? It's like, I did it. But I can't do that. I'm not that person. So let me just like trick myself into believing I actually am. Like, I'll just be a dumbass. I'll let it happen. Like, who cares? People can say like I'm, you know, out of my mind, but I'll just do stuff that I think, you know, I should be able to do. Not, or like, what a person who can do that can do, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not one of the people who can do that, so let me pretend like I am. You know what I mean? That's
Yes.
how I thought of it. And like you said, the thing that made me bring that up is because right before we went live, you said once again, like you just did, that it can feel like you're like reborn, you know? And yeah, that's what it felt like. It just, it was like, before I knew it, I'm just like, oh wait, no, I actually do this now. Like, you know, like,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
not, no more convincing myself or whatever. And it's not anything insane. It's just, but yeah, anyway, so you can, and I find myself going through something like that again, where I don't think of it as like being delusional. I just think of it as like, yeah, I've been here before, where it's like, you feel like it's like the way I just put it, like, okay, well, it's over. Time to just wait for the end to come, you know, whenever it does, you know, it's like, it's over. That was fun. You know, I'm not talking about a relationship this time around. I'm just life. And it's like, just, I don't know. It's hard, but I don't know. I don't know if I have like a lesson here or anything. I guess I'm just
Well, I
saying
would
how
say
it
that
is.
like that's like the positive, like the if like nihilism is like a loop, right?
Yeah.
And you know, when you first like are kind of introduced, or you first get those feelings of like the hopelessness of life and like the meaninglessness of life, it takes you very quickly down into the pits of like, you know, you're like, maybe I'll just do nothing. Maybe I'll just like wait around to disappear into the void.
Yeah.
And then if you wait around long enough, next thing you start realizing is that if nothing matters, then I can just do whatever I want.
Yeah. Right.
And then you just start doing whatever you want. And then next thing you know, you're like, oh, maybe the meaning in life is just doing whatever you want.
There we go. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden life has meaning because you're like participating in it. And I think too that going back to Ivan is like, why would you want to end your life in your 20s? Is because what's expected of you next is like either unfathomable to you and your lifestyle that you have, or like not what you want to do. Because I feel like that's like kind of where that comes from. It's like once you hit your 30s, you're like expected to be like mature.
Yeah.
And by mature, we talk about like you should have your career in place. You should begin starting your family. You know, you got to get your like you know, you got to get your life in order in a very serious way.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, a lot of the times, it's not for many people that doesn't you know, jive well, you know, because like that's not what everyone wants to do.
Right. And it's not what people have done. It's not like, this is sort of a new thing. I mean, people, you know, don't get me wrong. Back then it was more like, oh, you're like 13 and able-bodied. All right, go to war or go down into the mine shafts or something like that. You know, like, oh, well, they wouldn't even wait till you're 13. It's like, oh, you got small arms. You're 6 years old. Yeah, get down there. You know, I'm laughing, but it's just because of how absurd it is.
It's awful, yeah.
But like, no, yeah, it's just, but just regardless, like, this whole idea of like, well, don't you know, in the, you know, we started off as single-celled organisms and then evolved into this and that and this, and then we became humans. So naturally, you know, by 17 years old, you know what your major is supposed to be. You know what college you want to go to. You go to it. You get good grades. You graduate. You work on your career. You're dedicated. You know, you save money. You buy a house. You start a family in your mid-20s. Don't you know that? Everybody's always done it. No, it's not. It's like, it's not just, and that's not even, that's just like a side note. But it's like, even if it's been around for thousands of years to just do it exactly like that, how can you expect every single person to just want to do the exact same thing that is expected of them, at the time when it's expected of them, in the way that it's appropriate to do it, It's like, just, people, I heard somewhat, I don't know exactly how they put it, but I've heard someone say this and it was funny. It's like, and true, it's like, people worry about mental health and stuff like that, and oh my god, what's with all these mental health problems going on? It's like, well, maybe because you're trying to force every single human being to exist in like a competitive, cutthroat capitalist society where you have to like step on others in order to, claw your way up and sacrifice your dreams. It's not like it's just like, oh, come on, you can't like go out with your friends on a Tuesday night. You got to sacrifice that for, your future. Okay. No, it's like, no, you can't pursue what you're interested in or what you feel is like the purpose of your life. You have to go, I don't know, reset people's passwords at a freaking accounting firm. It's like, what is that?
Yeah. And that's the big thing too, is like, I mean, that's put into our heads early too. Like, chances are good you'll never really be able to do what you actually want to do. You're gonna have to get a job, and then maybe on the weekends you could go play music with your friends.
Right. Yeah.
Or like, oh, that's not that's and like, and then yeah, and it's not surprising to me that most people are not having a good time.
Right. Yep.
And then like even more so, then we like bastardize like even wanting to just have an easy life where we don't have like, I don't want to go to school for a bunch of time to study something that I don't really care about, to get a job that I don't really like.
Yeah.
It's way better and for what? Money? Why?
Right.
I mean, we've had these conversations before, but like, seriously, it's like when the world boils down to like how much money is in your bank account and like how, or not even most of the time, it's how much stuff you can have.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, Yeah, absolutely. I'd rather, have more free time, hang out with people, and enjoy what little time I have here.
Right.
Make some stuff, influence some people in a positive direction if I can.
Yeah.
Make some friends, make some people feel happy, get some fucking laughs.
Hell yeah.
Have my kicks.
Yeah.
I need them too.
Yeah. And rather than looking at it like, well, I reject this, so I'm going to, like, remove myself from existence. Because, it's, like, kind of, I don't know if hypocritical is the right word, but it's like, I reject, okay, so, Ivan, or anyone, like, with that type of attitude, it's like, what are you saying here? It's like, I reject the idea of life at a certain point, right? Like, and pretty much what that would mean is like, I reject all the things that come along with living through that point of my life, right? Whereas, so I'm going to just end my life because I reject this external thing. It's like super narcissistic in a way, where it's like, the world is wrong, so I can't even exist in it. Where instead of like, the world is wrong in my opinion, so I'm just gonna do what's right to me. It's
well, that's that's one of those philosophical points of view as well, which is like live your life the way that like you think others should, and then like basically it goes back to that concept that people don't know they're allowed to do stuff.
Yeah.
So you live your life the way that you want to live it, and then people see that, and then they live their life the way that they want to live it, and then next thing you know, we're all happier and doing more stuff.
Yeah, that would be the goal, but sadly,
Yeah.
a omnipresent force will crush anybody, or not anybody, but will just, if too many people get out of line, they'll reel them in or whatever. But it doesn't have to be that way either, you know?
I don't think that. I don't even know if that's necessarily true. You know,
Yeah,
like
I'm talking about if, like, there was, like, a massive shift in consciousness where people are just like, I am not participating in this rat race anymore, to a
Mhm.
scale where it's like, oh my god, institutions are going to start collapsing or whatever. Then they'd do something, you know?
yeah, but still, but if maybe they try, but if enough people are,
Right.
you know,
Yeah, I guess at
because
that point, people
at
already have the attitude to push back or fight back or reject it. Or
exactly,
yeah.
and at what point does the people in power start realizing that their like life is meaningless?
I wonder if they ever will. I'm sure some could, but
I mean, the children of them
yeah,
who
yeah,
will eventually be them might,
yeah.
and
Okay,
then
good point. Yeah,
you know what I mean.
yeah, yeah. Because
It's a big thing.
I was gonna say, like, the people who put in all the effort and did all the awful things that you need to do to get to that position, I don't think
Mhm.
they are gonna have a wake up call or whatever and just be like, no, actually, let me totally reverse what I'm doing. I'm sure it's possible and someone might do that, but like,
Well, I would assume honestly that they're feeling the pressure of society probably as much, if not more, like because they have like literally like CEOs being down their back and like other politicians, and I'm sure that all of them. It's the kind of thing. It's like a pressure cooker of power and influence that like now none of them can escape from it. With so they're all like I think that I really believe that if they have any wisdom at all, and I think that some of them do, they know that what they're doing is counterproductive in a big way to like you know sustaining their position first off, and also like you know generally like they know that they're not doing the right thing, but they're like in this loop of not doing the right thing because if one of them stops, then like they all have to stop, and no one wants to like realize that they were. You know what I'm kind of
I
trying to say?
do. Yeah, the only reason I'm just like, I wonder if that's even a common thing though. I wonder if people really do realize, like, you know, I genuinely believe that people who, like, you know, I'll just use smaller scale examples, like, uh if someone is like, yeah, I have you know, someone's living like a you know, super quote unquote successful life where they're like a real estate investor and they have like a whole bunch of properties and they got like an apartment complex, they got these houses that they rent out, and you know, a bunch of things, and they just have passive income. I'm
Mm,
pretty sure most of them don't realize that there's any issue with that. I think that's the case.
damn, man.
I really think
I
that.
mean,
I could be wrong. I don't know. If any landlords are in the chat, let us know. But like,
yeah, seriously. I mean, the thing is, like, well, I guess it's like if you're winning the game, then the game is fun
yeah, that could be the
and seems
attitude.
fair because you just think that you're good at the game.
Yeah,
But like, I don't know. I don't know, man.
yeah,
It's difficult. I mean, I don't know. Like, cause I don't. If you just follow the logic of anything that we know, you just get to the place where it's stupid.
what, to do that, or just anything is
To
stupid?
do that,
Yeah, to do.
most of the things that people are doing is stupid and like, right? Like, what's the point of owning property to exploit other people and get
Well,
money from them to live?
I think that the attitude of people who are cool with that is that, like, well, it wasn't easy for me, and like anyone else could do it, and if they could, they would. I just happened to be in the position where I could do it, so why would I not take advantage of that? I'm not gonna like sacrifice myself. I'm not saying I think that, but I think
Yeah,
that's
no,
the
I
attitude.
know. Damn. Yeah, I guess. But I guess that the main thing is that people still live in the mindset that like there are people who are inherently better than other people.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's I think you. I mean, I don't know because you know, you're on the other side of the country, but it's like, from what we talk about and what you tell me about, you know, that you get involved in your everyday life, like, I don't know if you're exposed to people to the same type of people I am, where it's like, I don't know. I've just had conversations where, like, you know how when, whatever, just you've told me situations where you talk to a random stranger, and even if they disagree with you in the beginning, usually it's kind of the type of thing where someone will be like, okay, I never thought of it that way. Or they'll be like, oh my God, yeah, that's true,
Mhm.
Anytime I've ever talked to somebody about, like, these types of things, specifically like that, like, making somebody pay rent to live in a place that you bought for the sole purpose of just being like, well, you got to pay me if you want to live here. Take it or leave it. Like, and I say, like, yeah, that there's an issue. I have an issue with that. They're like, they think I'm insane. But then again, these people are like, a lot of the time it's my friends or whatever that I've known for a long time that, like,
Yeah.
But
yeah, I don't know. It's just the logic doesn't really check out. I know that it's become the normal thing, but like, if you really think about it for a second, it's stupid. And I feel like it's just true. It's just true. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm insane, but I
sometimes
don't know. It just feels like a pointless way of living. Like, I mean, I guess but that's the thing. Like, in America, we promote individuality to this absurd degree, and I think I mentioned this on Monday as well. But like, it's so dangerous to like get so involved in just yourself, as if like, because this is people fucking neglect community and neglect like true connection so much,
Yeah.
and they end up bitter, miserable people who, when they eventually pass away, everyone's like,
Yeah.
and that's like, and because they've been looking out for just like their own interest their whole entire life, and
Yeah.
like they haven't done anything really at all besides like try to step on someone's throat to get their head above water.
Yeah. And a big part of it that, I mean, it's like we didn't mention this really, but I feel like the reason for that is because it's like it goes without saying, but just to clarify in case anybody watches this and doesn't realize, it's like this comes from the fact that you're rewarded for being that way. You know what I mean? It's like, if you choose not to be that way, what is the outcome? Oftentimes it's like, all right, well, then you have to go work for somebody else and they're going to exploit you. So you can just do less work and just own things and use the money to exploit other people. But you don't realize I think people who do that don't realize they're exploiting other people, or they just don't care. But I think a lot of the time with small scale stuff like that, like someone who's just like, that's not small scale. I just mean it's like, you're not going to be in Forbes magazine because you have like 2 apartment complexes or something, like.
Yeah.
But it's like, I think that it's viewed as like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if someone goes and walks into a room of just normal people who are just like your average coworkers that you would see who don't think about, philosophical or like, political stuff like this, it's like, and you say, and they find out like, oh yeah, I have a few properties that I rent out. I have like 6 units that I rent out. I collect like, passively collect like, like 10 grand a month or whatever, whatever.
Mhm.
It's like, people will be like, oh my God, that's awesome. Like, that's crazy. I didn't know that about you. And they're going to be like impressed. They're going to think you're like, oh my God, I didn't realize this person was so like, had it all together so well. That's crazy. Nice. Good for you. That, right? Am I off base here? I feel like that's like the general reaction that people give.
Well, yeah, but I mean, so yeah, but that's like a value thing, right?
Of
Where
course.
like we value. I guess when I talk about this stuff, I'm talking about it through the lens of like, it's obvious that we're living in a society where like our economic system is complete bullshit, and it's only designed to keep us in this loop of trying to step on each other's throats. That's the first. That, you know what I mean? So
Of
it's like,
course. Yeah.
in order to rationalize that, you have to first be like, oh no, it is good to do that, so therefore you're doing good by doing that.
Yeah. Also, a lot of people I think believe that it's like, no, I'm doing a service. Like, I keep the place nice, and then people are happy that they can get a place to live in. What's the issue? It's like, well, if everybody stopped doing that, then people who are now renting and spending half of their income or a third of their income on rent can own something in the future. If that's how we're doing it, and you got to own property like that, it's like the reason why you shouldn't be able to. People who already own a home that they use as a home should not be able to buy homes and use it as a speculative investment or a
Yeah.
or just like a. I mean, at the end of the day, you're just holding it hostage. You're like, oh wait, what? Yeah, I have a whole bunch of empty rooms. Oh, you
Yeah.
need a place to live? Give me like a third of your money and I'll allow you to live there under my conditions, and you have to follow all the rules that I decide, and I can charge you more, I can kick you out. It's like,
Yeah.
and we just view that as like, we don't look at it that way though. I mean, you do when you think about it for 2 seconds, but if you don't think about it and you just like take what people say as fact, it's like, nah, you're just a smart person. You're smart. You're investing. It's like, what?
I know, and that's the thing. It's like when we think about these problems in the framework that we have already set up, then yeah, it's like logical to like, oh yeah, it's like good to have passive income because I don't want to work a job, so I'll own a building and exploit other people so that
Right.
I can not have to have a job. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's pretty smart, but you're like fully participating in the system that's like sole purpose is to exploit other people's just so you don't have to be the one exploited.
Yeah.
And like, what if we just so fully stopped exploiting people? Then you wouldn't be exploited either, and neither would they.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I realize
That's like,
it's probably,
good.
it's easy to get demoralized and it feels like wishful thinking at times, but just imagine a world where instead of people being like, oh, hold on, wait, you mean to tell me there's a way that I can not be exploited by somebody else and I could just work, I could make my own money without having to sell myself to somebody else for their profit? Okay, hold on, what is it? Tell me how to do it. And then they're like, okay, well, here's the thing. You got to buy some properties and then charge other people to live in them. And then you'd be like, oh, wait, do they have any ownership over it? No. Wait, do they get the money back, or do they get some kind of like rebate when they like leave because they were like living there and they, now don't have any ownership over it? No. You just get the money. You would hope that people would be like, oh, that's a bridge too far. I'm not willing to do that. I mean, I thought you were talking about something that I could handle.
how dope would it be?
But people don't
how
look at that.
fucking
Yeah.
dope would it be?
Yeah.
I know, but how dope would it be, right? If we built apartment complexes and houses because people needed places to live, and then people lived in those places because they had respect for the community and were there to help out the community. And right, someone moves into and they're like, oh yeah, like I'll take care of this stuff over here, and they're like, okay, cool. There's an open apartment over there.
Could you imagine?
Wouldn't that be so terrible, horrible,
Yeah.
awful?
How much would
all these fucking lazy bums would just be sitting around in apartments for free,
Yeah.
doing nothing,
Right.
because that's what people want to do all the time, is just nothing.
Yeah. That's what everybody does, right? That's why the world is the way it is, because everybody out here is just trying to sit at home and do nothing all day. I think that's
Yeah.
what it is.
Mhm.
That's
We
why
figured it out.
everybody's fighting each other to, get ahead and whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And then when the people do get ahead, what do, right? Everybody, it's the. That's why I respect guys like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, because once they made their first billion, they retired and then gave the companies back to the people who worked for them, right? No. They said, I will work tirelessly to extract every cent of value I can from as many human beings as humanly possible until and hopefully beyond the point when I destroy the environment and the earth and
Yeah.
and it goes like that like all the time.
Yeah.
It's just
And we need to truly start looking at this stuff as a mental illness that's happening, that's
Yeah.
plaguing this world.
right. People are
And
mentally ill.
and stop being like, oh man, I want to be the next Elon Musk.
Yeah.
No, you don't. You don't.
Right.
Just go outside, talk to people, make some friends, and I'll tell you right now, you're not gonna want to be Elon Musk after you have a nice group of friends and fun activities to do and passion.
Yeah, sadly, I think a lot of the people who cling on to that stuff don't have, you got to have a pretty shallow worldview if you're like, yeah, Elon said Dogecoin is going to the moon, so like he's one of us. Yeah, he's just like me, honestly. Like I can relate. Like I like memes. Like it's like,
Yeah, I know, right?
yeah, I can relate. I remember when my dad enslaved people in South Africa, and you know, and then
Ignored me my whole life.
yeah, and then
I
just
felt like I had to,
yeah, and then I just inherited millions of dollars, so I just hired engineers to develop a peer-to-peer payment service, and now I'm all of a sudden regarded as like this like space exploration expert. Like, okay, you know.
you don't have anything to prove. It's okay.
Yeah.
Just do cool stuff like quietly or loudly if you want, but you don't need to exploit every single person on the planet to do it. It's okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's not enough people on this planet to exploit, so we gotta look further
Yeah.
and build.
Well, they're planning
colonies.
their escape. They're it's that thing. It's from that fucking it's that dark nihilism, you know. It's the let's just burn everything to the ground way of looking at the problem.
Yeah, I wonder.
You know, because like I was saying, like sorry,
No.
but I feel like people who have like everyone who sees a problem, which is most people, there's like two ways of looking at it, right? There's like the how can we fix this problem, or like how can we like find meaning in life again, and the other side, which is like fuck it. Everything is so terrible. Let's just make it worse until it blows up, and then everyone is like just as miserable as I am.
Yeah, I don't know if that's what the goal is there, though. I think that
For
like
which?
some of these people are convinced that they're actually doing something good.
Are we talking about Elon Musk?
Yeah,
and
like
Jeff Bezos
Stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh, sure, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
guess I can't be
depends.
sure, but yeah.
Because like, well, I think Elon Musk might think he's doing something, at least progressive in like the realm of I don't know. Does he really?
Yeah, like I
Tunnels,
exactly. I really wonder.
car-centric ways. If Elon Musk was building high speed rail, I'd be like, okay,
Yeah, for sure. I'd be like, okay, you know what?
yeah,
Fine. But it's like
yeah.
and not that wouldn't be enough to just be like, oh, everything he does is good then. No, I just mean like,
but
yeah, but it's just like with that, it's like I really do wonder like how much of it is like, yeah, I know that like building tunnels underground to be able to drive cars through is bullshit, and it's just like a way to secure like government funding so that like because we're going to be building them under the streets of cities and stuff, and we could probably get like contracts with that and all this stuff. Like, is it that? Because I mean I've always just assumed it's that, but because I can't wrap my mind around someone actually thinking that that's a good idea. Like, can you think about how fucking stupid you actually have to be? Like, really, just like, and this is the world, sadly, because there are people who saw that and were like, oh my god, yes, Elon, you're awesome, yeah, hell yeah, let's do it, I'm gonna buy a Tesla. It's like, how can someone be so stupid to hear like, yeah, there's traffic, it exists. What's the solution? Make more roads underground that are small tunnels with no way out. Like, instead of, and it's not even about the fact that there's no way out. It's like, wouldn't you take a look and be like, okay, how many cars are on the road compared to how many cars were intended to be on the road when these streets were built? Why is that? What impact is this having? What are these people doing in these cars? Like, what's happening? Like, especially in New York City, like you go around, it's like, everybody knows this. Most of the cars are like taxis and Lyfts and stuff like that, or Uber and stuff. And it's like, what if you just like make it so that like the subways are better, and then you could just use that, like, and then there's no traffic, or you know what I mean? Like, and whatever. Like, I'm not saying cars shouldn't exist at all. Like, obviously they should in some way, but it's like,
well, vehicles, some type of.
I just think basing every single inch of land in the entire United States around owning, it's like, oh, okay, you want to exist? Well, I mean, actually, I was about to say something, but this applies to every aspect of life in America. Oh, you want to exist? Okay, give me like $30,000-$40,000, or $20 to
Yeah.
$40,000, and then you're allowed to exist in society, or else that's it. You can't.
It's so funny too because Musk claims to be like somebody who thinks from first principles.
Please elaborate on what do you mean?
First principle thinking is basically like you start all the way, like you try to ignore all of like the current solutions to problems. So like if you're building a car from first principles, you're like, okay, I need something to get me from one place to another. What's the best way to do that type of thing?
Yeah.
Right. But when you were just explaining it perfectly, well, first off, definitely not, because if the solution is to make like people be able to get around quickly,
Yeah.
the solution is not cars.
Right.
We already know that it's not cars.
Right.
We do.
The
we're
rest of the
already
world
doing that.
knows this. Like, it's like
So
it's not
very
even
much
like we
thinking
know
from
it in theory. It's like it's proven, and it's just
Yeah.
not a normal thing in other countries.
No, it's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's not good for the environment, and it's not good for people, and like the amount of people who die in car accidents, blah blah blah.
Right.
It's not good. It's not the best way.
Yeah.
Now, so it's like very obvious that he's thinking from a capitalist standpoint, where like, how can I make the most money
Right.
by also getting people to move around a little quicker.
But are
Tunnels that make you go faster.
they?
This
Yeah,
is solution.
Yeah, but did
Tunnels that you can go faster in.
right? But then didn't you and then obviously everybody saw like it ended up just not being that. It was just literally a small narrow tunnel that makes you go
You
the
can't
same
even go
speed.
faster in it.
I don't think so. It looked like these guys were just driving and there was a traffic jam and stuff. Obviously that was one
Oh my
video,
God.
but like you never saw
I love that
that.
the company's called Boring as well.
Is it?
Mhm.
Oh my God. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Oh, you didn't know that? It's called
No.
Boring.
It's just so
Meme Lord.
pathetic,
Meme
but-
Lord Musk over here.
Yeah, that's just got to be the dumbest thing. It's just things like that. I just cannot believe that happened, and then people are just like, yeah, no, this guy still should be viewed as like a leader of, the future of society, or just technology or whatever. It's like you literally like. They don't even sell a lot of Teslas. Like, it's just not even a successful company, really. It's just, I don't know. Like,
honestly, like the thing is too, it's like, and I get the idea that like we've talked about this before as well. Like, people in cities understand this stuff about cars pretty well, but people in more rural areas, they have a more difficult time understanding the car thing. Fine, I get that. But I think that like it would be a good idea to start treating this country as like zones, kind of,
okay.
maybe, and like, because there's a lot of people trying to like, I don't know where I'm going with this. It's just like, how do we come up with a solution that everyone can get behind in theory?
Yeah, and I don't know, because I see what you're saying completely. Like, obviously, it's different when you're, in sort of more urban and suburban areas. Like, it's like it makes sense, like, to have railroads and subways and things like that. But yeah, if you live in a more rural area, like, obviously that's a lot more difficult. Like.
Yeah.
Like, what are you really? How are you going to convince people? It's like, no, you don't need your car. Just wait for a train to come to where? Like, where you can't have them like stop at every house when every house is 20 minutes away from each other. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
so, but that's the point. It's like, it's like, okay, I'm not saying literally ban cars. I'm saying make it so that the development of, like, look forward and say, in this picture of the future, we don't use cars the same way that we do now. We're gonna, you want to actually do a first principles thing or whatever it's called. It's like you said, I mean, this is obviously what you were getting at, and this was, but it's like, how do we make it so that people can get from point A to point B in an efficient, safe way? The last thing that any rational person can come up with is charge every single family, and more likely almost every single adult person, $20,000 to $30,000, $40,000 to be able to go into a deadly box where they go around with minimal training going 70 plus miles per hour in or like a foot away from other people going 70 plus miles per hour. You don't know anything about them. You don't know what's going on in their mind or in their body, and just make it run on like one of the most like destructive fuel sources that we can think of, and then yeah, just multiply that by everybody in the world, ideally. Yeah, great idea. No one would ever come up with that solution unless they were able to make hundreds of billions of dollars off of it. Yeah, then for sure. But what, like, you know, like instead, obviously, it could just be like there are, and this is an argument that I hate. I think is so, it's so hard to like convince people of this when they are so narrow-minded and so stuck in like the status quo that it's like, yeah, no, but there could be like public transportation, like buses and subways and trains and like high-speed railways that can go from like travel large distances or even just like, you know, standard, like and people are like, oh, what, so you'd rather ride on a bus than have your own car? It's gonna be like chaos. Like there's like gonna be people sleeping on it, it's gonna be dirty, it's gonna be all this. It's like, that's how it is now, and that's the problem. Like that's just the argument that always happens with this stuff. It's like you make a point and you're like, okay, imagine if we didn't have the influence of capitalism controlling this thing and we moved on to a post-capitalist way of doing it. They're like, essentially what always ends up being said is, that would never work under capitalism though. It's like, yeah, no, that's the point. That's the point. You would have to move past that, and then, or you just think of ways that would get you to a better spot, regardless of what you want to call the economic system. Just what's the best way? And people's gut reaction a lot of the time is just like, well, if we keep every single part of society the same, then that wouldn't work. It's like, yeah, exactly. God, that's...
Listen, yeah, I know, it's so right. It's like, that's the problem with talking to most people about this stuff, is that they can't actually think outside all of these little boxes that have already been set up for them.
Right.
You know, we need to be very, we need to think about sustainable solutions, not only sustainable for the planet, but sustainable for the individual.
100%.
And for the fucking brain, man.
Exactly. And that's really all it is. To the point where, in order to argue against this stuff, you can't say, guys, I did the research. I figured it out. It actually is not efficient to do that. It's really dangerous. We can't do it. It's just not a functional system. No one can say that. They have to say, the reason they want to do that to you is so that they can strip away your freedom, so that they can enslave you and put you in camps and enact a world government of globalist elites that are going to destroy society and destroy the family and make religion illegal and stuff. It's like, or hear me out for 1 second. Or they just mean what they're saying. That's a possibility too. They just mean like, oh no, I think this would be a better way. Because it would, and everybody agrees. Like, well, everybody in Europe and stuff agrees. Like,
well, I know. And
not
this is a big
everybody,
problem.
but you know what I mean.
But I mean, I know. Oh, the thing that it's such a useful tool to be able to, brainwash the religious people.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, like, because there's, and I hate to say stuff like this, but like majority of them are functioning on all they're already their way of thinking is already so susceptible to influence.
Yes.
You know, their framework for their life is like set up perfectly.
Absolutely.
For brainwashing and for like coaxing into, you know.
Yeah. It's a pretty genius strategy, honestly.
Moves, yeah.
To just actually pinpoint people who are the most willing to accept things with zero, like, nothing to back it up. Just believe me because I said it. And I'm a good person because that's been granted to me. I just am good. So you can listen to me and what I say is a fact. You know, like...
Yeah. I've spoken with God and he's told me.
Right, basically.
But like also like, I know. But
they do
also
say that
like,
sometimes, actually.
But the biggest point too is that, many of them believe, all religions, and to some extent believe in an afterlife,
Right. Most. Yeah.
right? And that is the point of life.
Yeah. Right. That's the attitude. Yeah. Especially.
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when that's like your framework for decision making, it's very easy to like have a nihilistic way of looking at the world that we're currently living in, because
Yeah.
the world we're currently living in is only a stepping stone to the good place that you're going to get to when you die.
Right. And the world that we're living in, by the way, don't forget, is consumed by evil and Satan's influence, and just human nature is sinful and blah blah blah. It's like
Yeah, exactly.
it's just like, okay, but I don't know. That's why one of the first things, actually, before I even started to really think about politics a lot and stuff, I I'm sure this is a pretty, I'm kind of cringing even saying this, but like, I watch a lot of documentaries, and I was watching one about Siddhartha Gautama and
Mhm.
the Buddha, and diving into that and like starting to understand like what it's really all about really changed my perspective on like the world, because I never considered myself a religious person or anything like that, and I'm not going around being like, yeah, I'm a Buddhist. No, but like I think about the principles of it. But I don't even, honestly, I don't even think
Oh,
I think
no,
about it that
definitely.
much. I think it's like more like I've kind of adopted it into my life a little bit, like
Yeah.
in the way where like, and I'm not talking about just the necessarily the reincarnation part or whatever, which whatever, I don't know, but it's like I'm talking about just living your life in a way where you're engaged with the life you're living. It's not just like,
Yes.
let me do this thing so that I can get to this point or whatever. Instead it's like, just do the things. And you're already at the point where you're doing the things. So just do the things. And yeah, and keep it balanced, you know what I mean? Like that's like a
Right.
really healthy thing for I think for people to realize, is like the point of life and the point of being alive is not like to just chase the peaks all the time. Like, I need to get happier and happier and get more and more and more, and it's to accept that that's never going to happen, and that it's always going to be ups and downs, and you just want to just get comfortable, or maybe not comfortable, but just get at peace with that knowledge that you're just gonna end up in the middle the whole way, and
Yeah.
just ride that, and
Yeah.
what can you do? Then the bad times are bad times. It's not the end. And
Yeah.
good times are good times. It's not like, oh my god, I want to chase that once again. I need to get that back. Oh my god. And when it goes away, it's like, I lost it. Oh my god. Like,
Mhm.
it's like,
Yeah, it's truly understanding that life is constantly in flux, and that it's nothing stays the same forever.
right.
Even living as long as we've lived, which is not nearly as long as other people have lived, it becomes obvious that like the most pain you've ever been in goes away.
Right.
It starts, you start feeling better after a while.
Yep.
Most of the time you can really do nothing. Like, and it's just time alone will help.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it really is like that. I mean, I love that thing. I said it earlier, and I think I said it last week too, or whatever. But it's like the idea that, and it's weird, I never really connected it to this Buddhism thing, but like, I guess that probably, learning about that probably planted this seed in my mind, and now I really do view like so much as like our anxiety and depression and fear and just anything else, and it really comes from that feeling like this is not the way it's supposed to be. And
Mm-hmm.
if instead you just look at it, everything as just like, oh, this is it, okay, like,
Mm-hmm.
to put it more like, I think a better way to put it is like, instead of looking at it like, no, it's not supposed to be like this, you can try to look at it like, oh, so this is how it goes, huh? I didn't see that coming, but all right. Because,
Mhm.
at the end of the day, time is moving forward, no matter what.
Mhm.
And you are just along for the ride. Yeah, you can kind of nudge things in certain directions, and sometimes it could feel like you really can steer it where you need to go or whatever, where you want to go or where you, whatever. But, like, at the end of the day, when you're trying to steer it in that direction, the point of that point in time is the part of the story when you were trying to steer it in that direction. And whether it gets there or not, you're already on to the next part of the story. You either got
Yeah.
there or you didn't. And now you're like, oh, okay, so that's how it turned out. Okay.
Mhm.
It's not like,
Yeah.
oh, I failed and now I'm pathetic. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to give up. I hate my life. It's so easy to do that because sadly, we're taught that it's supposed to be like that. Good things happen to good people, bad things happen to bad people, and that's just the way it is. So if you're good, God will protect you, and if you're bad, Satan will, cast you into eternal flame. Like, wow,
Yeah.
that's healthy. Like,
Yeah. Good fucking. What a good system of belief. Anyway.
yeah.
But
Sorry,
yeah,
that was a
truly
long
though,
rant,
like when
but
you
yeah.
no, but like whenever you're like trying, this is true. Like, when you're trying to do something, it becomes way more difficult to do.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, trying to be happy, trying to like meet someone.
Right. Yeah.
Like how often truly I every time that I've ever met somebody that was a significant part of my life, I was never trying to meet them.
That is actually a good point. Actually, that's 100% true. In my
You know,
life, yeah, totally.
yeah, like things are always happening. And I definitely think that you should get involved in your life. That's a good way
Yeah.
to go. But
Right.
don't try. Like don't be out here trying really hard to do stuff because just be yourself and be in yourself
Yeah.
and try to embody who you want to be and just be that.
Right.
And all the things will come with that. All the things that come with that will come with that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And the thing that you should try is to understand yourself and to accept yourself. That's really the only thing worth really trying to do, because
Mm.
even in like a, whatever, like maybe there's a friendship or a job or a relationship where you're like trying to make it work, trying so hard to make it work. And what are you really doing? You're basically lying to yourself and to the people involved by presenting like a false version of yourself, kind of, like,
Yeah.
because if you're trying, I don't know. I mean, it's complicated. Like, I'm not saying literally like the thing is, actually, this is a big part of the issue. Like, when I say that, maybe this is just me, but I feel like a lot of people could interpret like, I'm saying like in a friendship, relationship, job, don't try to make it work. That doesn't mean like just show up to work drunk or just like, neglect your significant other or just like beat the shit out of your friend or something, But
Yeah.
that's not.
Well, generally, I feel like that's what happens when you're trying to make it work.
Honestly, you're right. But it's like the point is just if it's gonna work and if it feels like it's, I don't know, it's gonna work if you can just accept yourself in that position and go forward honestly. Then it will work. And
Yeah.
so by trying to make it work, you're really just you could really just try to accept yourself and understand yourself, because I don't know, like if you're a artistic person or something and you love that and you're working as a whatever, like a number cruncher, you might not get satisfaction out of it, but you could try really hard to get motivated and convince yourself that this is for the best and it's going to be so worth it once you retire. And, it could be a lot worse. You could not have a job. You could not have, this or that. It's like, yeah, but
Really, though?
you're you. You know what I mean? Like, you're not in that situation. I mean, it's
Yep.
pros and cons because there's other influences that come in,
Well, the big
it's
thing that
complicated.
honestly is like, well, it goes back to what we always talk about, which is like comparing yourself to other people anyway is bad, right? It could always be worse. What's worse?
Yeah.
Somebody else's position in life. And it's like,
Right.
why is that worse, right? Why is it worse to like quit your job as a number cruncher making like 70 grand or 80 grand or maybe 100 grand a year to like, you know, get a job at a gallery and hang around with artists that you relate to for like
Right.
less money.
Right. The only way it could,
Is that worse?
right.
Is it worse?
Exactly. Good point.
You know what I mean?
Because the thing is, I think people who are like, oh, it could be worse, are looking at what we're told to look at. You know, because we're taught all this stuff. You know what I mean? Like people love to talk about human nature, but human nature is to learn from your environment. That's human nature, and it's like we're basically told that it's like if you don't follow these steps, you're gonna be like a bum who like no one likes, and you know you're just gonna be like struggling, and you're gonna have to live in a horrific way, and you're gonna be depressed and miserable. But instead, it could just be like you described, like, oh yeah, rather than dedicating my time to doing something I don't want to do, so that I can just get rewarded with money, or well, rewarded, but you know I'll receive money and then like be able to buy things. It's like, how is that even good in the first place? What's good about that? Like,
I know.
What is this great thing of like, you're gonna give me money so that I can just buy stuff?
Right.
Like,
I was
what
gonna
is
say
the
that before.
like,
Yeah. Right. And the stuff is specifically it, and I really believe this, right? Most of the stuff that we buy it so that we can fit in
yeah, that's 100%
in some
true.
way or another, or be associated with the group, or you know, have something to talk about, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
But why not just be a part of a group and talk to them about stuff and belong?
yeah, yeah.
You know, it's
But
like
that takes.
you don't need to buy stuff to do that.
Yeah, it's a sad reality when it seems more difficult to just be like, hey, what's up? This is who I am, and I'm just doing it. Versus it's easier to be like, well, I can't do that. I'm gonna instead like do a whole bunch of shit that I don't actually want to do, and you know, whatever. Like we just described a whole bunch of times. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just
Yeah.
Oh, hey, what's up, Rob again?
Rob's back with the greed is good.
I just looked at it. I wouldn't like that. Greed is good. Okay. Can't argue with
Firmly
that.
disagree.
Yeah. It's good.
Greed is boring. It's a boring way to live, and empty generally.
I feel that way. I just genuinely don't even understand. Like, what do you buy? What would you buy? Like, you know?
Have you ever been actually happy with?
I feel like I have everything I want. Everything I want, I have. The most expensive thing I've ever bought was my guitar, which was like $1,900.
Yeah, but wouldn't you also been happy with the cheaper guitar? Because I would.
Yeah, I mean, I have a cheaper one too. So, I mean,
you know what I mean though. It's like
no,
we've talked about. Literally, Rob's putting us back on the same rant we went on last time when Rob messaged us. But yeah, there's cultural implications involved with buying stuff that can be good and can feel meaningful.
Yeah,
like buying the expensive guitar feels good because it's the guitar that the band plays that you like.
Yeah,
or whatever.
Yeah, and it's
or it
also
has a certain sound that feels
right.
like it's the right kind of sound.
Right. It was made using the materials that I wanted, with the finish that I wanted, with the, you know, it was like just like, ooh, this is everything that I wanted all in one package. Let me do it. You know, and yeah, if you're doing that,
no judgment. No
right.
judgment.
No, exactly. I mean, it's just like, I don't know. I just can't imagine being like, even when I used to be like all like super into, you know, playing guitar was like my favorite hobby, and like I was like really into bands and music. I just thought it was like so weird how like people would just be like, I literally said this last time, like, yeah, I got a 1963 Les Paul, you know, it was just, oh, it's in great condition, but look at that buckle rash on the back, man, you know, that's how you know it was really authentic. It's like, and what do you do with it? It's like, oh, I keep it on the wall, I don't want anything to happen to it. It's like, what the fuck is that? Like, what is the point of that? I just don't, like, what is the point of that? You just look at it and be like, yeah. I remember when I spent money on, I remember when I literally typed in my credit card information into a computer, and then the thing arrived at my house. That's me. What is that?
Yeah, I don't get it. I went to this happens all the time. I know people do this, but I don't like it. When you go to someone's apartment and they have, I remember this in Brooklyn, I'm entering apartments and there's just people have like records framed on their wall.
Yeah.
I just can't help but laugh.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you, that's literally meant to be listened to.
Yeah. No, it's like a
dude.
great, no, that's a great
goofy.
example. It's like,
so goofy.
Yeah, that is a good example. It's like, I purchased a item that has utility, and I stripped it of its utility so that I can
Show people that I
identify
have
with it. You know, as
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's funny. I don't know. Like, this is kind of, I'm not, you know, whatever. This is, once again, I'm sort of gonna cringe here, but like, I watched Fight Club a few days ago, and it's just, I mean, it's just so funny how it's like, you know, I forget, what does he say? He's like, what does this tablecloth say about me as a person, or something like that. It's like, you know, it's just so, like, it's so ridiculous because it really is that simple a lot of the time. Like, it's like, I mean, and actually, I even felt that way. I forget what it was. What was it? I bought something recently, and I was like, the design isn't like that perfect. Like, I kind of wish it like looked a little different. And it was like, I was like thinking about it a little bit. Like, I was like getting a little stressed out for like 20 minutes, and I was like, you know, like, I'm kind of bummed out. Like, I mean, I just wish the design was a little bit better. Like, the color is like not what I wanted, and I'm just like, why the fuck do I care about this? And then I just moved on for a minute. It's like, okay, cool. But like, I look back on, like, you know, when I was a teenager and stuff, I was so in that world, you know what I mean? Like, but and it's like you said, you know, we talk about skateboarding a lot, and we've talked about how it's like, you know, it's basically like just consumerism, honestly. It's just, oh, I'm good at skateboarding, so I make skate videos that are sponsored by companies that sell clothing and skateboard parts, and I encourage, and then that hopefully will get kids to buy that thing. And then there we were walking around with our branded shirts and, like, you know, the pants and shoes, and feeling like, oh, cool, I'm like part of something. You know what I mean? That's what it was. It was like, I'm one of these people. Yeah, that's cool. I feel good about myself when I do that. And it's like, you know, whatever. I guess, you know, being a teenager, especially at that time, and in, I don't know, it's just, it's a common thing, and I'm not faulting anybody who has ever felt that way, because I was saying, like, how can someone care about that? But I guess now that I'm thinking it through, it's like, okay, I guess I get how someone can care about it, but the prerequisite for caring about that, is to not think about why. Yeah,
exactly. And it makes sense when you don't think about it. Definitely.
Yeah.
It's very easy
like a lot of things.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's part of our culture that like, yeah, if you wear a certain kind of shirt, you're a certain kind of person.
Yeah, for sure.
And everyone knows that. So it's like, you know, so put on the shirt if you want to be like this, and you can put on this shirt if you want to be like this.
Yeah.
And maybe you get one of these kinds of shirts if you like want to like feel like you're like this for the day. Whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
interesting.
so much of it goes, you know, through time and TV and all the stuff. Bands, you know, fucking, and then, like, you know, punk becomes marketable, and all, you know, it's all the fucking, it's like literally at the end of the day, we're just, everything that we know and like, most things at least, exist because it was marketable at one point, or still is.
Right. 100%. It's so weird.
So we think about what a post-capitalist world looks like, and we have to start thinking outside of the relating to our objects.
Yeah. Just,
you know,
I just wish I could flip a switch inside people's minds that would make them just think. I've been playing Final Fantasy 14 a lot. I wish I could be Hydaelyn for a moment and just, through the echo, express to everybody, think about the fact that you used a credit card to buy an item, and now you think that item is like bringing you joy, and like you think it like says something about who you are. Just think about it. That's it. I feel like that would be enough to kind of like really get the ball rolling. You know, like, obviously I would prefer to say more. But
I think the big thing too is that the amount of stuff people buy, and
like, because it's never enough, because it's never going to make you happy.
Yeah, and even still, like, yeah, it's so wild. I can talk about this for literally a million years in a loop.
Yeah, and we're kind of repeating ourselves. We talked about this last time. I don't know.
Yeah, but like the fast fashion industry and all that, and like the amount of people who just go to H&M like every couple of days to like buy some new stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you doing?
Right. And then don't even get me started on the environmental impact of that. Like,
oh God, yeah, no, of course.
It's just like,
it's bizarre.
It's
bizarre.
I wish
they need a new shirt. They need a new shirt.
I wish we could.
Why do you need so many shirts?
I wish it could be. I wish. Obviously, you know, I'm not saying we should shame people, but like, I wish. I guess I don't wish this, but like, if you had to pick, if you only had two options, and one was make it be, just leave it as is, or you have to make it so that like it becomes like a common thing, where like if you see someone like walking around with like that, that look, like where it's like, they just like got all their clothes at the mall and they got like, some H&M on, they got like, whatever. I don't know, you know what I'm saying. They're wearing like just basically like consumer type. Like the aesthetic is basically like I'm a consumer and I'm not even aware of it. I just think it's cool, It's like that aesthetic where it's like my personality is I buy clothes, like you know what I'm trying to describe. I don't know how to describe it. Like
no, I know it's a large white T-shirt with a picture of a photograph on it.
Yes.
And like jeans that are like distressed, but cheaply distressed.
Yeah.
And clean sneakers.
Yeah.
Maybe like a flat brim hat.
Yeah, super clean sneakers. Yeah, like exactly.
I could do the ladies as well if you would like, but
yeah, right. Exactly. Just that's pretty much what I'm describing. And it's like I just like well, okay, I'm trying to make a point here, but I'm going all over the place. If you had to choose between keep it the way it is now or the only other option is make it so that society get to a point where society looks at somebody who does that and is like, look at this fucking person, like going around like selfishly buying goods produced like unethically in a way that's like destructive and doing it just for their own self gratification and like trying to whatever. That would be a better outcome, at least. I don't want it to be like through shame. I'm just saying.
But this is this is the thing though too. That the main issue that I have with it is like people go to the store to just buy stuff.
Yeah.
And when we talk about this, I do this with coffee and books, but that's different. But going to the clothing store to just get some clothes.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre to me because the way that I usually do it is like I'm like, oh, like I need like a lightweight button-up shirt because it's getting hot out and I don't really have any lightweight button-up shirts.
Right.
That's so strange.
Yeah.
I need to get some. And then when I'm outside, I'm like, maybe this store has like button up, And then I get one if it looks good.
Right.
Most of the time, I go to the thrift store and I'm like, where's the lightweight button-up shirts?
Yeah,
and I just pick the best one. Or what I usually do is go, what's the least expensive one, and then what's the best least expensive one, and then I buy that.
There you go. Yeah. No, I mean, hey, it's weird when we talk about clothing like this because like clothing does have like value and utility outside of just like being a consumer good. Like I understand how you can be like. I totally understand how, like, you can use your clothes to, like, express yourself or to actually be, like, sort of...
Yeah, but if it...
What?
That's the thing. What I'm saying, though, is that I don't think that self-expression, if you're buying stuff off the rack...
Exactly,
at a fast fashion company,
exactly.
or even from a major designer, if you, like, are like, oh, I need a Gucci to tell me what looks cool so I can wear that.
Right. The problem is when it's, like, your expression is, look at me, look what I bought. That's the way you're expressing yourself, by being like, hey, what's up, guys? I just want to let you know I was able to buy this.
Yeah.
Thoughts? It's like, what the hell is that? I mean, what is that? Like,
dude, majority of my clothes, I think I've probably bought like 5 or 6 items since I've moved. And basically my whole closet is stuff from going back to high school.
Yeah, I have a lot of that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I have, it's just like,
yeah, there's just certain things that I have that I like, and I'm just like, ooh. And I don't know, I do associate it with certain things. I'm like, ooh, it's like a summer day and I'm going to be outside a lot. I'll pop that on. It's like, oh, it's going to be cozy. Where I'm hanging out at a friend's house, and it's like, we're going to be indoors mostly. Yeah, this sounds about right. You know what I mean? Like, not like, oh, wow, should I wear this logo or this logo or this logo? Like, with these jeans and these shoes and, like...
Yeah,
I mean, there's some
weird
aspect
to me,
of
but
that.
maybe I'm just
if you like the way it
maybe we get
looks
somebody on here
together.
who's a real aficionado about this stuff, and maybe they can.
Yeah, do we got
straight.
any like sneakerheads up in here? No.
Yeah. What's the benefit of consumerism when it comes to clothing?
Yeah,
I'd like to know.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Even now, like I'm all I'm doing basically is getting rid of clothes.
Makes sense.
Like every time I move, I have less stuff. I just.
Yeah,
get it rid of it.
Probably a healthy way of going about it.
Yeah, I don't know, dude.
Yeah,
it's tough.
It is. You down to take a quick break and then hop back in? It's been a little
Yeah,
over
do you
an
want to take a
hour.
break and play a little bit of disco?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay, cool. So
Yeah.
if anyone's
All right,
watching,
break time.
we'll be playing disco soon. Be right back.
BRB.
Okay, everyone. If anyone's watching this, we're just gonna restart the stream real quick because we're gonna play Disco Elysium now. So refresh that page in like 10 seconds or something. All right.